Hello everyone, welcome to UPSC Warriors channel. This is Soundarya. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe immediately. And for today, we are going to discuss about the exchange rate systems. So if you are someone who is planning to travel abroad, then definitely this video is for you. Why? Because I'm going to tell you how much amount of Indian rupees you have to spend for getting every currency of the foreign country. So here we are going to see what is mean by exchange rate, how it is going to be determined, and what is mean by fixed and floating exchange rate. And these terms I think you would have been very familiar with, because every day in newspaper or in the news articles we see that rupee value is depreciated, rupee value is appreciated, etc, etc. So what is all about that depreciation, what it is all about appreciation, and how it happens, and most importantly how it is going to impact an individual, impact you and me on a daily basis. So this is going to be a very interesting session, and I hope you will be with me for the next 10 minutes where we are going to study in and out about this exchange rate systems. So without much delay, let's get into the topic now. So what is mean by currency? Currency is nothing but money. We all know that, right? And why do we use that money? Whenever we want to buy some goods or services, we exchange it with money, right? So it is used as what? It is used as a unit of exchange. For what? Goods and services. So what are some examples of currency? We have rupee, that is Indian currency. We have dollars, that is US currency. We have euro. We have yen, that is Japanese currency. We have pound of UK. So each and every country has its own currencies. Clear? Okay. And now, why do we have to worry about all these things? It's simply because you cannot take Indian rupees to America and spend it there, because they won't accept it, right? Okay. In that case, what you have to do? You have to convert your rupee to American dollars, right? And if you are going to UK, you need to have pounds. Say for example, if a person who is traveling to UK, okay, is willing to buy a product in UK, right, which is costing, say for example, £5. In that case, what he has to do first, he should get rupees converted into pounds. In that case, there will be a question, right? How much amount of Indian rupee I have to spend for getting £1? Okay, so how many pounds is equal to 1 rupee, or how many Indian rupee is equal to £1? Clear? So here what is there? Here there is a rate of exchange for two different currencies. So we are going to study about how this exchange rate is getting determined and how it is impacting us in the next few minutes. But before going to that, let us have a look at different types of currencies we have. So what is mean by commodity currency? Commodity currency is something which is backed by a commodity, that is called as gold. So gold is a very good example of commodity currency. So what is mean by fiat currency? Any currency which is not backed by any physical commodity is called as a fiat currency. And I hope you all know this well. Digital currency. So what is mean by digital currency? The currency which is existing in digital form. An example, we can say bitcoins. Okay, fine. Now let's go to this portion, that is what is mean by the exchange rate and how it is determined. But before that, tell me, who is going to demand these foreign currencies? Tourist, right? And who is going to demand the foreign currency? One who wants to import goods. Remember? Okay, so if I am a tourist who is going to travel abroad, then definitely I need foreign currencies. If I am an importer who is importing foreign goods and services, I have to pay them in the currencies which they accept, right? So in that case, I need the foreign currency. So how this particular exchange rate is getting determined? So that is the question, right? So what is exchange rate here? It is the rate at which, as I told you, one currency is getting exchanged for the another currency. Okay, in other terms we can say that it is the value of domestic currency with respect to the foreign currency. Here is the example. If 1 USD is equal to 75 Indian rupees, it means that 75 rupees is worth $1. So this is the exchange rate. And how we are going to determine it now? So we are going to determine it on two bases, or with the help of two different methods. Any one of the methods would be used in general. So first, talking about the fixed exchange rate system, and next we have the market exchange rate system. So how this fixed exchange rate system works? So under the fixed exchange rate system, the exchange rates are getting fixed by the country's central bank. It is as simple as that. If I say $1 equal to 84 rupees, in this the exchange rate, that is $1 is worth 84 rupees, is getting fixed by or determined by the country's central bank, and the Central Bank of India is RBI. Okay, so do we had this type of determining the exchange rate system before? Yes, so till 1991, India was following this method of fixing the exchange rate, where the country's central bank is going to determine your exchange rate, right? Okay, so it is fixed unless RBI changes it. It means what? Since the name indicates fixed, it doesn't mean that this exchange rate will not vary. Okay, of course it will vary. When it will vary? If the RBI is changing it, it will vary. Okay, so since the name indicates fixed, it doesn't mean that once it is fixed forever. RBI can change it as and when it is required. Clear? So this is about the fixed exchange rate system. And why RBI will change the fixed exchange rate system? To facilitate the trade. Okay, so to increase exports and decrease the imports. Why it is so? It is because we know that these foreign currencies are highly demanded by the importers, right? Because they have to import goods and services. And who are going to supply these foreign currencies? It is the exporters, right? So what is happening here? Exporters are supplying the foreign currencies, and let's take the example of dollar here. Importers are, demanding the foreign currencies, right? Okay, so if my country is largely an importing country, it means that I will have to, get more dollars, right? In that case, the demand for the dollar is going to increase. So whenever the demand for dollar is increasing, the value of the dollar with respect to Indian rupee will obviously increase. So Indian rupee will decrease. The value of Indian rupee will decrease, right? So if something of that is happening, then the government and the RBI will be taking care of the situation by altering this exchange rate in such a way that it is able to control the imports. So how it is going to happen? We will see that shortly when I talk about market exchange rate system in detail. But in the fixed exchange rate system, the RBI can simply change the exchange rate in such a way that it is able to increase exports and decrease imports. So to give one quick example, if the value of Indian rupees with respect to dollar is getting changed by the RBI under the fixed exchange rate system from 84 rupees, okay, to $1 equal to 90 rupees. So what is happening here? The exchange rate is getting increased, the value of Indian rupee is getting decreased, and the value of dollar is getting increased. Why? Earlier you had to spend 84 rupees for getting $1, but now you will have to spend 90 rupees for getting $1. It means that the value of Indian rupee is decreasing. But in that case, how it is going to benefit the economy? It is going to benefit the economy. Why? Because this is something that will help the exporters. Okay, just imagine if you are an exporter who is exporting some laptops to the other countries. For every laptop that you export, you are getting paid in dollars. When you are taking that dollars and coming to the India for exchanging it with authorized dealers, how much of Indian rupees you will be getting now? For every dollar that you will give, you will get 90 rupees. Earlier you used to get only 84 rupees, right? So in that case, the exporters are going to get benefited. So they will increase their exports. So the same thing goes with importers, but in opposite direction. Just imagine if I am an importer, if I am importing goods for which I will have to pay in dollars. So for every dollar I have to pay, I have to get my Indian rupees exchanged, right? So as to pay in dollar. So for every Indian rupee that I will be giving in the previous case, so if for example, if I am giving 84 rupees, I was able to get $1. But now I have to give 90 rupees to get $1 for purchasing imported goods. In that case, I will decrease my imports. Okay, so that is how the RBI is controlling the exports and the imports of the country. So this is the meaning of this point. Okay. it is changed by RBI to increase exports and decrease imports. Why it has to be done? It is because RBI is responsible for controlling the inflow and outflow of foreign exchanges. Clear? So exporters and importers get rupee and dollars from whom? Any authorized dealers, that is the exchange banks, at the fixed rate. Okay, so why it is needed? It is needed to control the imports, to manage the shortage of foreign exchange reserves in the country. If the import is not getting controlled, if you are continuously going for higher imports, obviously you will end up with what? Crisis in the country, that is BOP crisis, which happened way back, right? Why? The foreign exchange reserves will get exhausted. Clear? So this is all about fixed exchange rate system. So we are studying the exchange rate system. We learned what is mean by exchange rate at which the country's domestic currency is exchanged for foreign currency, and what are the methods to determine that? We saw there are two main methods. One is the fixed exchange rate method and another one is the market exchange rate method. In fixed exchange rate method, the country's central bank, that is RBI in case of India, is going to fix the exchange rate. Does India had fixed exchange rate before? Yes, till 1991, India was following the fixed exchange rate system, post which we shifted to the next method, that is market exchange rate system. I hope so far everything is clear now. And what are the benefits of fixed exchange rate system? It allows the country's central bank to have the control of foreign exchange reserves in the country. It is allowing the central bank to control the inflow and outflow of foreign exchange reserves in the country. Clear? Now, moving forward to the next concept, that is, it is a very simple thing that you have to remember: revaluation and devaluation. Okay, so whenever the RBI is increasing the value of Indian rupee with respect to dollar, that is called as devaluation. We saw that in fixed exchange rate system, RBI can either increase the value of Indian rupee or decrease the value of Indian rupee. So I will give you one example. If $1 equal to 75 rupees yesterday, but now if RBI is doing fixed exchange rate system, it was changing the exchange rate from $1 equal to 75 rupees to $1 equal to 70 rupees. So what is happening here? Earlier 75 rupees was worth $1, but now 70 rupees is worth $1. So the value of Indian rupee with respect to dollar is increasing. So in that case, this is called as revaluation. RBI fixing the exchange rate or changing the exchange rate from this condition to this condition is called as revaluation. As I already discussed, it is going to benefit the importers. So here is the example. The opposite condition, if the RBI is changing the exchange rate from 70 to 75, then that is called as devaluation. Note this very carefully. The RBI changing the exchange rate, okay, if it is increasing, that is called as revaluation. If it is decreasing, that is called as devaluation. Okay, moving on to the next thing. What are the benefits of devaluation? As I already discussed, it helps in changing the export and import flow of the country, especially whenever the RBI is going for devaluation, it is going to benefit the exporters. Okay, have this condition happened before? Yes. So when we had BOP crisis, RBI has gone for devaluation many times. So we will discuss that later. So this is all about fixed exchange rate, revaluation, devaluation. So now we are moving to the last part of the lecture, that is called as market determined exchange rate. So this is also called as flexible or floating exchange rate. This exchange rate system is very simple. As the name indicates, here the RBI is not going to determine the exchange rate, but rather it is the market that is going to decide how much amount of Indian rupees have to be spent for one foreign currency. So when I talk about market, what market am I mentioning here? This is the foreign exchange market. So what is market? Basically, it is a place where the demand and supply is meeting, right? So what is market? So when you buy something, okay, that is called as a market. For what? You are exchanging your money. So in case of foreign exchange market, the market is, actually exchanging foreign currencies, right? That is called as a foreign exchange market. Here, the demand and supply of foreign currencies are going to determine the exchange rate. So this demand and supply are called as what? Market forces. Okay, so demand and supply are called as market forces. So this demand and supply of what? Demand and supply of foreign currencies is going to fix my exchange rate. If the demand for dollar is high, then what is going to happen? If the demand for dollar is high, then what will happen? The value of dollar with respect to domestic currency will increase. As simple as that. If the supply of dollar is higher, then what is going to happen? When there is more supply than the demand, then in that case, the value of dollar is going to decrease with respect to the domestic currency, right? So this is how under the market exchange rate system, the exchange rates get determined. Clear? So India is following market exchange rate system after 1991. Fine. So to make it more brief, let me give you one example here. So who is going to demand the foreign currencies here? Importers, right? So who is going to supply the foreign currencies? Exporters, right? Largely, in addition to importers and exporters, foreign currencies are also being used by investors, being used by tourists, being used by we people who go and study abroad, right? So we will keep all those things aside and focus mainly on imports and exports. Now, whenever the demand for imports are higher in any country, say for example India is demanding more, importing more, right? It is a net importer. In that case, whenever the demand for imports are higher, then the value of dollar will be higher with respect to the Indian rupees, right? Okay, so whenever the exports are higher in any country, in that case the value of domestic currency will be higher, okay, with respect to the foreign currency. Fine. But what happens to the demand when the price is getting altered? Just see here, according to the law of demand and supply, this is law of demand. What is happening? Whenever the price of foreign currency falls, its demand is increasing. Okay, it is very simple. If the price of this particular pen is getting decreased, then many people will demand it, right? So that is as simple as that. So whenever the price is getting decreased, the demand is getting increased. Okay, so whenever the price, see P1, P2 and P3, so whenever the price is getting decreased, what is happening to the demand? So if it is P3, the demand is very high. Okay, so if it is P2, the demand is only this much. If it is P1, the demand is only this much. So this is how the demand curve is. Okay, so basically what is happening here, whenever the price of foreign currency is getting decreased, if I tell you $1 is equal to just 10 rupees, everyone will go and purchase dollars, right? So what is going to happen in that case? The demand for dollars will increase. So it is as simple as that. So whenever the price of foreign currency increases, if I rather tell you $1 equal to 200 Indian rupees, no one will buy that, right? In that case, the demand will decrease. So this is how the demand of the foreign currencies will also vary in the foreign exchange market. Clear? Fine. And now we will see what is mean by appreciation and depreciation. As I already told you, the market forces like demand and supply is going to change the exchange rate. So whenever there is more demand, then what is going to happen? Exchange rate is going to be higher, right? If the demand for dollars is high, then the exchange rate is going to increase and the value of Indian rupee is going to decrease. Clear? Value of rupee will decrease. This decrease in value of rupee because of increase in demand of dollar is called as depreciation. It is something similar to devaluation, but except that devaluation is something done voluntarily by the country's central bank. Clear? So whenever depreciation happens, it means that you have to spend more Indian rupees to get one foreign currency. It is very simple. Okay, so whenever depreciation happens, it means what? You have to spend more Indian rupees. Why? The value of foreign currency is getting increased. Why? It is because the demand is getting increased but the supply is not that much high. Clear? Okay. The opposite condition is called as appreciation. Okay, so what is happening in appreciation? Value of Indian rupee is increased. With respect to dollars, it is called as appreciation. So whenever you see in newspaper that the rupee value is depreciating, rupee value is appreciating, it is basically referring to what? The changes in exchange rates. Clear? I hope So far everything is clear. So now we are going to revise. So what are the different exchange rates we saw? We saw fixed exchange rate system. It is also called as pegged exchange rate system. Okay, and then we saw flexible or the market exchange rate system, and there is a third type of exchange rate system that is called as managed exchange rate system. So what is this managed exchange rate system? Allowing the exchange rate to operate on the basis of market conditions, but at times it is getting altered by the RBI voluntarily. See, if my exchange rate is determined by market forces, okay, but at times if there is a need for me to intervene so as to save my country's trade, in that case I am the RBI, I am going and voluntarily doing something. I'll tell you what is that in a separate video. Doing something so that the exchange rate is getting varied according to my need, that is either I will appreciate or I will depreciate. If I am doing it voluntarily, that is RBI going for it voluntarily, will be called as devaluation and revaluation, and that mechanism is called as what? Managed or the floating exchange rate system. So we learned so far what are the different types of exchange rates, that is fixed and floating, and how it is done, and get to know these two terms, that is called as spot exchange rate and forward exchange rate. So what is spot exchange rate? On spot, if I want to exchange the Indian rupee right at this moment, what is the exchange rate? That is called as spot exchange rate. So this is something will be released by the country's central bank. What is forward exchange rate? Looking forward from now, maybe after 30 days, what would be the exchange rate? So if I am getting into a contract, future contract, where I will be mentioning that I will be exchanging dollars for these many rupees, and that contract, if it is signed, then you can exchange it, you know, according to the contract that you made with the party. That will be called as the forward exchange rate. Okay, fine. So what are the factors that will influence your exchange rate? I told you demand and supply, economic indicators. So if your country is doing well, if the GDP is fine, if there is growth, then it means that your country has a potential for exporting more, earning more. So in that case, if your exports are going to increase, what is going to happen? That can also affect your country's exchange rate. If there is inflation, it is obviously going to, you know, decrease the country's investments. In that case, then the country's currency will depreciate. Okay. So what will happen if there is no political stability? The investments will move out of the country, and again that is going to increase the demand for the foreign currency, obviously causing depreciation of your domestic currency. So again, the trade balance, if you are importing more than what you are exporting, obviously you will have demand for foreign currency. In that case, the value of domestic currency will decrease. That will lead to depreciation. So central bank interventions, as I told you, RBI will go for revaluation, devaluation, etc. And then global events, like whenever the elections happen, as in case of US, etc., whenever natural disasters like COVID-19 comes, in that case also the exchange rates can get varied. Okay, so this is all about the exchange rate systems that we have, and this is for today. In the next class, I will come up with some MCQs to revise it and make it more thorough for you. And I have a small announcement. If you are someone who is preparing for UPSC, this is the best thing that you can get. There is an offer right now going on at Unacademy, where for the price of 24,999, you can avail all these 3 courses. That is, you know, Liberty 2026 English batch. You can also join in RM 2026. It is English Foundation batch, and you also have this Hindi batch. Okay, so if you have not subscribed, please subscribe to this immediately and make use of this opportunity. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have not subscribed to UPSC Warriors channel, please subscribe. Thank you. Take care.